It's a pleasure to chat to you this evening. She always says that. It's so annoying. I just want to make sure everybody's on mute. Mute. Except for you. No muting you. Noah, what's a Zambian doing in England for 20 years?
20 years. First of all, thank you very much for having me on your program. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I hope that we are going to have a great conversation.
We are. We're going to have a fabulous conversation.
Well, I came here 20 years ago. Now, the idea was I wanted to do a PhD. And so I came here. But then I soon realized that having 4 children, I needed to prioritize them. So when I came here, I started working.
Was there no TV in Zambia?
Sorry?
Was there no TV in Zambia? 4 children.
4 children, yeah. they're all 4 children. Because at the time I came here, I was actually working in Botswana. And then I left Botswana for the UK. So that's how I ended up here.
And your background is in education?
Yes, I've always been in education, and I stayed in education for more than 30 years. I worked in Zambia, worked in Botswana, and then in the United Kingdom.
Why did you become a teacher?
I think it was something that I was kind of somewhere in the DNA.
Is it one in the family?
When I finished school, then I found that I tended to do a little bit better with people, and then I liked children. So that's how I ended up becoming a teacher. And I think it has been a great time working with children for over 30 years. And it's always a pleasure, especially when I meet them, that they are, some of them are big and old and doing marvelous things than I have done.
You still like children after all those years teaching them?
Oh, I still like them, especially those the ones under 10. They always have a very soft spot for me because I like their innocence.
Yeah,
I like that.
With the digital age, that's kind of rapidly disappearing, isn't it? There's too much access to stuff that they shouldn't be being access to.
Yeah, they're growing up too early. I remember somewhere in 2014, I was having a workshop in a school with teachers. I was teaching an advisor, so I was having a conversation with teachers in the workshop, and they were expressing a lot of concern about how their primary school children, this is lower primary school children, were behaving like adults. And that is because of the social media, I think.
Yeah, it's frightening.
It is. I'm glad I grew up my children a little differently. The world was a little bit too small.
Were your kids born in England or were they born in Zambia?
2 were born in Zambia and 2 were born in Botswana.
So they really are children of Africa.
Oh yes, they certainly are. Well,
so
I would say.
Wave at us, because Noah's got a daughter hiding around the corner and she really has to come and say hello to everybody.
All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Good to meet you all.
Now, that's the last one.
The baby.
That's the baby.
Oh, okay. Are you daddy's girl?
I wouldn't say it started off that way, but I think I would say so.
Are you the, no, don't go away. Come back. Are you the only one still at home?
Me and my older sister.
Okay. So how does she
Yeah.
feel about you being daddy's girl?
I don't, my parents only play favorites, so we don't really, it's not really like a competition thing. It's just that we kind of click, since we all have different personalities, we kind of mesh together differently.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's fantastic. Okay, thank you. Thank you for
Bye.
building questions. No, at what, I mean, are you retired now or are you still working?
No, I'm retired.
Okay, so life in England actually must be quite, I think I have to go to England because I can retire. You are a
No, I
very,
retired early, by the way, a little bit earlier.
why?
Well, partly is because the program that I was running came to an end. And then secondly, I think after more than 35 years in education, I just, I wouldn't say I got fed up, but I think I lost steam.
I can believe that. You actually deserve a medal for 35 years in education.
Thank
I
you.
mean, you should actually come in this country and sort out the education system here because it sucks. Yeah.
But you know that I got two of my qualifications from South Africa.
Yes, from where?
I started at the University of South Africa, and I got a BA honors in linguistics. And then I went on to study an MPhil qualification at the University of Stellenbosch.
Excuse my ignorance. What's an MPhil?
It's a Master of Philosophy in language.
Ah, you're a philosopher. No wonder we were talking about global warming just now.
I'm not quite a philosopher, but a little bit about language, you know.
What prompted you to start writing?
Again, it is something that was somewhere hiding in the DNA. I believe as an individual, my strongest gift, I think, that I was given, or talent, is creative thinking. And so it has always been there in the background. But in 1979, when I was at college, at Nkrumah Teachers College, I entered for a competition, a poetry competition, and my poem won, and I was given a prize. And that was the first time I realized that I can write something that people would be interested in.
Yeah.
And but I didn't take the pain so seriously until I was about to retire. That's when I ended up writing a little bit more seriously.
And your characters. So now there's two ways of writing. There's by the seat of your pants, or there's plotting. Which one are you?
Let me come in a slightly different angle, because the way I write is that I have got a storyline. And of course, it's like someone who is starting a company. You've got your idea of a service or product, and then you want to take this out and make it successful. So you have to assemble the people that will help you, the employees or accountants and many others. So that's the way it kind of evolves with me. I have an idea about about what I want to write. Then I start with the principal character. But as I go, the storyline makes the character, but the character also makes the story. So you can fit me in the appropriate category now.
That sounds like by the seat of your pants, quite frankly. So do your characters live in your head? I mean, do they actually like have little conversations and talk to one another? Is that how it works for you?
Yes, they do. And interesting enough, even after writing and after publishing the books, they still linger somehow.
You know that there's drugs for that, right?
Sorry.
So they're still
Yeah.
there. So what have you done to get rid of them? Or does that mean there's a book 3 coming out? Or ow, stop it. Sorry, that's my dog.
What what I decided when I put the last full stop to the second book, I thought I shouldn't write any more fiction. However, there is a story that has been darting around in my head for more than 5 years. So I may just end up writing that as either as a novella or just a full novel. I'm not very sure, but I'll probably write it down. But I have no intention for a sequel at the moment. But I do have intentions also for writing a small children's. Actually, I wrote a small children's book. I just need to develop it into my children again. They told me that they benefited. It was a book meant for them,
sweet.
to help them financially. So they said, maybe you should write it so that other children can benefit.
Yeah, can I read it? Because I need some help with that as well. I was contemplating selling a kidney this week. Apparently in the black market, they're worth quite a bit.
Right. Are you serious?
Well, now that you mention it, you never know. Because not everybody who has stories in their head actually manages to get them into the computer. Do you write by hand or do you write on a laptop or a computer?
Both. Both. I found when I started, I was writing by hand, because then I thought the coordination of my thoughts and my hand was much better than writing with a computer, because I'm a little bit slower with a computer. So, but of course, it saves time to write the draft in the computer. So these days I've graduated a little bit more, but sometimes I sit down and write by hand.
Is your handwriting decent? Because if I wrote by hand, it would be sort of like a Rosetta Stone. You'd need something to translate what I said.
Yeah, it's I've grown old now. I've grown lazy, but so sometimes you write things and you can't read them. They've written them.
No, that's me all the time.
Yeah, so the computer is becoming a little bit more of the tool to use in this, and as an input tool.
No, on the back of your book where it says about the author, you are a highly, highly qualified man. You didn't just stop at 2 degrees, did you? You carried on.
Yeah, I gathered a few other things here and there.
So casually, he just throws it in there. Your focus being on English and philosophy and education.
Yeah, my main focus is English, actually. I did a bit of religious education, but my main focus is literature and English language.
Okay, because the English, are you playing Wordle?
No.
Is your daughter playing Wordle? Because everybody has playing Wordle. There the rules of English apply. Okay, Noah, the real president. The real president 1 and the real president 2. Where did they come from?
Right. That's a very good question. They were actually inspired by conversations I had with my children. Believe it or not, when they were growing up as teenagers, they are full of questions. And you know that sometimes here in the UK, the television doesn't portray Africa in the best light.
No, it doesn't.
And so when they got exposed to some of these, they would come and ask, and then we would talk about Africa and some of the problems. And I was already resigned to the position that many of the problems in Africa are because of leadership. And so the more I spoke with them, and I know they, as children, they think that their dad is Super Mario, so he should wave a wand and then improve leadership in Africa. So they kept saying, you should do something about it. I said, there's nothing I can do. I don't make the policy. So what can I do? But they kept saying, no, you should actually do something about it. And then I realized it's not actually me doing something about it. I thought that was a cry for the young people themselves. So I decided that I would write a book that will help inspire the young people, especially. So that's my primary audience, to write a book that I do hope will inspire the young people who are going to be the future leaders.
When you say young people, what are we talking about? Young adults or 20
Yes,
something year olds?
the young adults, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm looking at those at least above in their late 20s and early 30s in that bracket, because the population of Africa is about 1.5 million, thereabout, billion, and that many of those, not 60% or so, actually young adults. And so my concern is these are the young adults who are going to take on responsibilities of leading these countries. So what is their inspiration for leadership? And realizing that many of the leaders in Africa have been very poor at the best. And so I wanted to give them something that would inspire them as kind of a benchline. And also the discussion about leadership in Africa was too philosophical, about governance, about this. So I wanted to put the leadership in a context so that you give it a shape as to what is good leadership. What does it look like? What does a good leader do? What do they achieve? So then, of course, that inspired the two books.
Have you not thought about setting up some kind of course on how to be a good leader? And actually getting them to run it in universities worldwide or in Africa as well, particularly?
Interesting enough, yes, I have. I've thought about it, not as a university or an institution like that, but at one time I thought maybe I could write a few more things and expose them to the young people. But the idea is I think has been there somewhere in the back of my mind, but it's just the time that is required.
Can I ask you why you started the book in the future?
What I was looking at is looking at what was happening, because you could write a historical book like Chinua Achebe wrote the Things Fall Apart, and you could write it looking at the past, and we always learn things about the past, but my understanding was that I wanted to write something that would be a lived experience rather than a past lived experience, but I wanted something that would be a possible lived experience. So that's how I ended up writing the books as they.
So it's not actually science fiction.
No, not as science fiction. I would have put in a few more things if they were science fiction.
Because I was like, oh my God, 2068. That would make me 100, just by the way, when the book starts. So I won't be here to see this utopian society you've created.
Yeah, you might see it much earlier than you probably think.
Do you really think that? Do you really believe that there's hope for Africa?
You know what happened though is that after I had written the books, especially when I came to the end of the last book, first of all, I had a sense of gratitude. I know this might sound unusual, but I had a sense of gratitude to the main character for achieving what she achieved, and I came up to believe it it is possible that at some stage we are going to have someone who is going to provide leadership that is close to the ideals that are written in these books. And I hope I'll see it in my lifetime.
Yeah, me too. Let's start talking about your first character, Moses. Is he somebody you know?
Apparently, no. Moses is not based on someone that I know, but the character is drawn from the inspirations I've had from some leaders that I thought were good leaders, and some of those leaders that I have appreciated in life is I know there are certain areas that I would disagree with them, but people like the late President Mandela, with his vision and his dedication and the way he behaved after what happened to him. There are people like the late President Kama, the first president of Botswana. He had a vision. When I worked in Botswana, I realized that the people in Botswana, the leadership actually, were still working to the plan that he had left, to the vision he left them. And then not all successful, but there was also people like President Nyerere. Now, President Nyerere was, I call him as a leader who sincerely failed. He wanted to bring socialism, but he failed. I like the sincerity that was there in him. And then people like President Kaunda, I have a lot of things that I would disagree on, that I disagree with President Kaunda. However, there's one thing that he did. He was the only, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the only president of Zambia who was dedicated to building a nation state. And he actually went somewhere. And I believe the peace that and tranquility that Zambia is enjoying is down to the efforts of President Kaunda for having created elements of a nation state. So these are some of the leaders, and of course going far afield as well. So so these strengths from some of these leaders informed the character of Moses.
I'm going to digress a little bit because you opened the door about Zambia. Why do you think Zambia succeeded where Zimbabwe hasn't?
Precisely what I've just said. I believe because Zambia, when the country at independence, we didn't have the struggles on the scale of Zimbabwe, for instance. So that has to be noted. What I mean by that is we didn't have different, we had different leaders with different philosophies, but we didn't have the kind of vicious disagreements that happened in Zimbabwe. But in Zambia, what I think President Kaunda did was that he set out from the beginning to unite the people, and there was the intermarriages and people felt that they actually had a part to this nation called Zambia, and so that I think was one of the reasons why, in spite of the problems, there has been threads to hold the country together. But when you look at Zimbabwe, they had that big fight they had between the Shonas and across there. And then after that, you had the autocratic leadership of President Mugabe, who was different from President Kaunda. He was in quite some aspects an autocrat to preserve his own position, but he wasn't as a dedicated autocrat, I would say, as President Mugabe, because Mugabe was very vicious with the tackling dissent and trying to make sure that the only voice that mattered was his. But we still had room in Zambia to discuss and disagree and fight and make up and continue. So I think those are some of the reasons.
Okay, so now compare Zimbabwe to South Africa. Are we heading in that direction from what you can see sitting in England? I hope there's something stronger in that tea at this point.
Right. Zimbabwe and South Africa. I think there's a difference between the two. The tone that was set by President Mandela was very, very vital, and I think it is still vital to the future of South Africa. And I believe people will not abandon that. The largeness of his heart to accommodate people, to forgive, and to look at each other, and his vision for building a diverse society. I think those ideals, if they are being taught in schools sincerely, and if all the leaders hold on to them, they should be able to let South Africa succeed. In a way, I think they have done, they have already achieved, because his President Mandela's willingness to leave power has created an environment where the other presidents who followed him were able to leave power. So leaving power is now, I'm sure, is acceptable in South Africa. And of course, we should not forget about the input of the other late president, de Klerk, and his contributions, because those guys to have gone away from their ideals and then to look at the country and say, look, our interest is in the country. I think those two leaders are great, and they should continue to have the light on South Africa. But Zimbabwe, because they are moving from a dictator, I don't know whether they have quite moved.
Yeah,
I think
this new guy is not much better.
Right. I think moving from a dictator can be very difficult. And the dissent is still not a very tolerable thing in Zimbabwe. So I think that's why you find people are stifled. Upcoming leaders cannot come up to openly to try and contribute. And having said that, Moses was fought against a leader like that, and he overcame and created an environment. So maybe the Southern Africa should take more interest in the real president books, you know.
So should I drop them off at the state buildings for you? We can't drop them off in
That would be
Parliament
very helpful. Yeah.
Your choice of, okay, so Moses comes in, he defeats a despot, takes over a country and starts to build it up to what his belief, his vision, and it works.
Yes.
Against all odds, it actually works. Does that make you a visionary or a dreamer?
Visionary.
Okay, so we have a book set in the future and you're a visionary. Okay, so Moses, like all really good presidents, serves out his term and then he gives way.
Yes.
To Delilah, who's a really naughty girl because she had a baby out of wedlock.
Yeah.
Why do your characters have biblical names?
Well, by the way, I love all my characters. Delilah is coming in from a very interesting angle. She was a journalist, and as you know, journalists are very nosy people and pick up stories. But then from an outset, Delilah grows interest in the vision of Moses, and that leads to her being appointed as the vice president, against odds, would say, because there were other people who should have been appointed. So it is because of her strength and her commitment to the vision, ability to see that you need a vision, a different vision to what was prevailing at the time. So because of that, that's what makes her special, and willingness to learn to learn the philosophy that builds up a nation state. So that makes her a special character.
Do your children also have biblical names?
No. you would like, I would like you to stretch the imagination a little bit. Okay. If you look at my characters, they all know, they don't all have biblical names, but the biblical names should be able to stretch the imagination of the characters.
Yeah, Moses leading his people out of strife and into the promised land.
Right.
But why Delilah?
Well,
why Delilah?
You see, Delilah has always been quite often people thought that is a bad person or associated, or kind of a stigma. But you see, I believe there is goodness in every person. And every person given the right, like I was saying there, her ability to understand, her ability to see the vision, and her attention to the detail in respect of working with President Moses, it makes her special. So what I'm trying to say here is that it's not what other people may think. Actually, this one is a good person. So yes, there is a little bit of a paradox, and that was deliberate.
Okay, so I'm glad I got that.
Yeah, you forced it out in the end.
The programs that you have set out in your book, the things that Moses brings to the people, the things that Delilah will go on and bring to Africa, are these real programs that exist already, or are there things that you feel should exist?
That's a very good question. They are the I think they are the programs that people would benefit from. Program that will build a nation state. Program that will help every individual in a society. It doesn't matter whether it is what we call the so-called developed country or developing countries. Every individual there should be given the opportunities. So those programs actually evolved as the book was being written. And so there's a very thin line between perhaps what I think should happen and those programs. But that is how they evolved.
Why have you never entered into politics? Oh, hang on, that's an assumption. Have you never entered into politics?
No, I've never been into politics. I know I've been asked before I was on a number of occasions to go into politics. But I've never come to a decision to go into politics. But I hope that these books will contribute much more than any politician can ever contribute.
So which one of your children used to, what's the word, deconstruct the gadgets in the house?
None of them.
I think that's a fabulous idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Lubanda.
Yeah.
How did we come up with the name?
I'll give you part of the secret. I won't give you the whole secret.
Okay.
Part of the secret is that it's an acronym. That is what I will tell you. And it's actually interesting. After I published the second book, I realized that there's a little place in Tanzania called the same name. So I thought,
wow.
This is very interesting. Yeah, but that was purely fictitious, and it is made up of an acronym.
And that's as much as you're going to tell us.
I'm not going to tell you what the acronym is.
That's really sweet of you. Thank you so much. What is this about? Okay, so now let's talk about Delilah. Yeah. Because that's what we actually should be focusing on tonight, is book 2, The Real President 2. Delilah is a young woman. She's been vice president for all these years. She now becomes the president of Lubanda. What opposition does she face?
First of all, she's a woman.
So down with the patriarchy.
So I'm very pleased that at this point in time, there are across Africa quite a number of women are serving in positions of leadership or aspiring to positions of leadership. And I am very, very happy about that. And I believe that this book is going to even inspire them more, especially the young people, to also take up those responsibilities. She is, given where she started from, people would say she's a woman.
Tando.
And she had a little bit of, as you said, naughty.
Stop. Oh, sorry, did you hear that?
And
Shouting at my dog. I thought I'd muted the.
No, that's all right. So I was saying that because she's a woman, she's going to face opposition. And that's one of the reasons I say that she is as the main character. And then the other source of opposition, of course, would come from within her party. For all those people jostling for power, who wanted power, so that they would be against her. But also, as we see, she has got her own personal problems that like poor health. So those would be the challenges that she faced.
But what about her love life?
Sorry?
What about her love life?
Well, every woman has to have a love life of some kind.
Well, I don't know about that, but.
And, oh yes, I agree. Maybe I should withdraw that. But I think you understand what I meant. She had a life, but that part of life was not traditional Put it that way.
It certainly wasn't. But she doesn't seem to have somebody who really cares about her in this book. Or did I just miss it?
That is her strength, because then she believes in herself, and what she does is for what she is as a person with her strength of leadership goes far beyond the support of the of maybe of a husband. And I thought that that's what makes her, in my eyes, a very good character.
Is there a reason that on the cover your characters face backwards?
Yes.
Elaborate.
Oh, they're just facing the people. They are facing the crowd.
You know what I thought it was? I thought it was because you were trying to say that this could be anybody. So you didn't give them a face. Just the case that.
Yeah, you're right. If I put my face in front there, then they'll say this is who he is. But you see, I'm trying to achieve two things with the covers. Of course, we are saying the title of the books is The Real President, which actually means the ideal president. That's the real meaning. And therefore, the ideal president could be whoever performs to the ideal standards of leadership.
Living in
thank you for that.
I had a question and it's now escaped me, which is typical.
Hope it comes.
Yeah, it'll come tonight while I'm sleeping. Oh God, that was the question I wanted to ask. Lubanda, where do you place it in Africa? Is it sort of Zambia, a little bit further north, a little bit further south?
It is somewhere a little bit in the Central Africa, a little lower than that, and so it is in that region. Again, I wouldn't give you more more on that. If you can solve the puzzle for the acronym, you probably will have a very good idea. But
first, I have to find out what an acronym is.
Well, don't spend a lot on it.
You realize now I'm going to have sleepless nights wondering what Lubanda stands for. If you could choose any one of the programs in this book, because there are many, okay, it's not like they're 5, they're 25. Which one would you like to see? Give us an example.
If I were to choose a program, like you have rightly said, there are many ideas in the books. I think one that I like the best is the one that is called The Mind. It is changing the mindset. I think that is key, because if you can change the mindset, enrich the mind, and help people to see what is possible, and to be able to reach that, and then acquire, if they don't have the skills, be able to acquire the skills to reach what is possible. I think that's the best thing. You asked me about South Africa a few minutes ago. I know there is discontent in many people in South Africa as to what progress they have made since the change in government and so on. And my priority personally, and the question that possibly I would ask is, how much of the programs South Africa has discharged over the past 20 years or so, how much of that has gone to equipping the citizens, especially those who don't have skills, giving them the skills and exposing them to ambition so that they can, because people talk about creating jobs. You know, creating jobs is not, there's no one who's going to create jobs for everyone. But you see, all people can create jobs for all people, in the sense that some can be self-employed, some can employ their relatives, or they can employ their friends or a few people. And when you add that synergy together, you find that there's more employment than any other single company can create. So I think that would be my priority.
What are we talking about? Education?
Yes,
I mean,
equipping
education
the
is
mind,
key. Yeah.
changing the mind. Yes, it's a little bit more than the standard education. It's giving people the skills that they need to survive. You and me have got some simple skills to be able, if the bulb blows, or at least we are able to fix the bulb. We have got an idea of what to buy and how to fix it. If we can't, we know who to call to help us fix that. And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, that people have to acquire this, to give them the skills deliberately. So that kind of education is, there are those who do well in academic education, but there are those who may do well in the practical education. But it's giving them skills that will make them make choices and contribute to the overall picture and development of the country. But
So
that comes from the mind.
If I said to you that our unemployment rate runs at around 35%, and at this point, schools went back a week ago, and there are 17,000 children that don't have places in schools yet.
I don't know what the reason why, what excuse any government would have for not having a child in school. I don't take kindly to that, because, not because I'm a teacher, but because I'm also a parent. You see, I brought up 4 children, and my 4 children, they have all reached university and gone to very good universities. Now, and they decided to add on more qualifications. My basics was for them to get the first degree, but they have gone on to add on that. But that wasn't easy. At one time, I was the only one working, and I had to prioritize what was good. In fact, you might realize that I came in, my initial reason for coming in here was to do a PhD. I had to abandon the PhD because the reason being that if I took the resources that I had to put in my PhD, then one of my children or a number of them would have suffered. So I had to put my resources into the into my children's education. I had to make sacrifices. So there's no reason why a government should not build a school and employ teachers to teach the children. From where I come from, that's unforgivable.
Also, we have an issue in this country with everybody wants to go to university. So we instill in people the wrong culture about education and going to university, because my belief is that if you give people a solid primary and secondary education for free, then tertiary education actually should be a luxury. So, and then, well, you should have to pay for it. I mean, so we don't have that in this country. We have a thing, well, I've got a university, you know, I have an university exemption, I should go to university. But not everybody is cut out for university. Some people should work with their hands. And people don't want to work with their hands anymore.
Right. Again, where I come from, where the angle I'm coming from, I do agree that some people struggle in university. But I believe that university experience adds an interesting dimension to a person's development. Their self-concept, and the ability to interact with the environment. At least people who have reached university level should be able, I expect them to be able to analyze things, to synthesize things, and come up with their conclusion. So there are strengths there. If there are people who would like to go and they are tailored for it, they shouldn't be denied an opportunity. But I think it's the priority here, again, comes to the government. What kind of programs do they have? I'll tell you one program that I've always admired for many years. It's the program of apprenticeship. Now, what you're doing there, I don't know what job you do, but I'm talking about you running this this book club. The skills that you have there. If a younger person who has never done it would like to learn how to manage a group of people and comes and says, let me come and sit and see how you do it. How you handle people, and what is required. And they work with you for a couple of months. They will have acquired skills that will enable them to be able to replicate what you have. In other words, they would have learned from you. So it's not only putting people into school. They can start up with an apprentice program, whereby those who are willing can be attached to various industries where they will learn skills that they're going to apply in life. So that's how you have the artisans. Yes, we need the people who in universities and so on. There are people who have gone to university and finished and said, "Okay, I don't like this. I'm going to do this," and then they go on to do something which they like. But the thing is, what I think is important is, what is it that we are providing the young people, and how are we providing it? Because if you're waiting for a billionaire from somewhere in America or China to come and start an industry there and employ people, yeah, fine. He might employ only 100 people. But you see, they probably, yes, we appreciate whatever jobs are created. But what I'm saying is, if you equip the people locally, then you'll find that there'll be more growth in terms of employment, in terms of opportunities. And in fact, one thing is the self-concept of each of those people, instead of relying. You see, what I found out is that over the years, there has been a culture of what I call the donor culture. People are excited about people coming to run charity programs and making donations. I know it has its place in helping people. There are people who otherwise would be starving or dying of some illness because no one has donated. However, I have observed that it has developed a culture, what I call donor culture. People want to receive. Not that they don't want to do something for themselves. They don't want to work. They don't seem to understand that there is something every person can do, which they can actually sell out there and someone else can buy. There is already in the informal economy, in the markets, people are selling things, but what have we provided for those people to expand their horizons, to make them go dream more, so that they can produce more for the people? So that would be my concern, and that's the way I would approach that.
I stand to correction, but I don't think we have an apprenticeship program in this country anymore. Just by the way, which is very sad because people are not encouraged to work with their hands. It's frowned upon. People want university educations and they want to go out into the real world and earn a fortune, which they don't know how to manage either. So then you end up with huge amounts of debt on your back,
Yeah.
and a couple of children, and you're in trouble. But that's not the, there's serious issues that need addressing. And I really think that you should come and talk to our Minister of Education about how to run things in this country. Does anybody have any questions for Noah? I mean, I haven't put it out there yet, but if you do have, could you pop it in the chat box and I will relay the question to him. And I was going to say to you that, I mean, yeah, in terms of education and free education in this country,
yeah,
as I was saying, I believe that primary education should be rock steady, and it's not. It's your foundation, and it's not in this country. It hasn't reached that. And they keep changing the education system. I mean, anybody want to chime in here? Because, you know, comments would be really welcome. They keep changing the education system, so we can't get it right. And our teachers, I mean, for example, you've got teachers in the townships that have come out of the rural areas or come out of townships and they can't speak English properly, but they're teaching English.
Right. It's that's the responsibility of the people that are running ministries and what they understand and what vision they have. Because like I was saying, if you if you let people believe that the only way through life and in life is through the elite system, then you're missing the point. And if you are deploying people to do something, then you ought to give them to train them and train them well. So the teacher training program, how is it run? And how prepared are the teachers trained? Because you could have a very good mathematician who may be struggling who struggles to communicate. So that particular person needs some skills in communication to teach them how to teach, so that they'll be able to communicate the ideas. And so I think it is. It brings me back to the books. It's a question of the various leaders at the various stages that we have, how they look at their responsibilities. If I were to be made, say, a minister of education, I should say, okay, this is, I'll see what is on the ground, and then say, okay, what is lacking? Where do we want to go? And set the goals. And also look around. You learn from people that have succeeded. There are countries that people have mentioned for a number of years now, who started below some of the countries in Africa, in fact, and now they are, especially in Asia, they are doing extremely well. So how did they do it? What happened? So, but if you go into a responsibility and your only interest is to inspire yourself and your own, then you'll not achieve much for the people.
I've got a very good question here. What is your opinion of the UK public education system? And public not being private schools in England, but the government education, in other words.
Yeah, I have, thank you very much for that question. I have actually worked in there. I have been an advisor looking at sitting in a number of meetings dealing with that. What I would tell you is that the public education is very good. There are more schools doing very well, but like any other organization or any other institutions, there is a group of schools that don't do well. But there is a rigorous regime to make sure that the they look at these schools and help them out. So what we used to do, for example, when I was in there, we would take a school, and then we'll go there. There's a team. I was working in the central team, and this was school effectiveness. It has changed names, but it was school effectiveness team, whereby you find there are people who would go there and work with the head teacher. There are those who would go there and work with the middle management to help them, and then there are those who would go and work with the classroom teacher, and those who go to help them in delivering the various subjects. In other words, you had this array of expertise going into school, being available and helping and sharing standards with the teachers in that school. But also they came up with another idea where successful schools were partnered with schools that were failing. And so that helps to keep the standards reasonably high.
Does that answer your question, Shelley? Gilda, I don't even want to tell Noah that our expectation of a 30% pass is what we have in this country. Shelley says yes, definitely. Do you have a copy of the Real President 2? Yeah, no, we have a 30%. 30% is you can pass at 30%. Although she did qualify that on the radio the other day. I don't know if you heard, Gilda. She said you can get 30% in something, but you can't get 30% in something else in order to get into varsity. There was some kind of reasoning and gobbledygook that went with that. But anyway.
30% below 50 is below 50.
I won't say more. Do you have a copy handy of the President 2, the Real President 2?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Do you have a favorite bit that you like to read?
Or a favorite? How much do you want me to read?
A couple of pages. Unless your daughter wants to read to us.
Okay, I'll probably read a few paragraphs here and there, and hopefully I'll be loud and clear. Okay. I'm reading from page 14, right at the bottom of page 14, the first day. "You look stunning, madam," said the handmaid. "It's my wedding day," she joked. After breakfast, she set off for her first day in office. She stopped to look at each of the pictures of the previous president. She ignored Chimanga's and stopped at Moses' picture, touched it, and bowed. Next up was a new picture, a familiar face. She looked at it, straightened it a bit, smiled, and continued to the grand office. She opened the door slowly, looked around as though she had never been in. She looked at the pictures on the wall and decided nothing would be taken down, though the position of the table would change. On the table was a handwritten note from Moses, which in part read, "Congratulations, my president. Remember, leaders can build and they can destroy as well. I am confident you'll build. Leadership is a unique privilege of service. You have power, but power can bring so many temptations and trials. Power is more intoxicating than alcohol. Take it with wisdom and principle. Use it for the common good. Exercise power with the ideals and conscience of humanity. Seek not glory, but let glory be your gift of service. And remember, being a president is not about owning the country. It's not about owning the people or owning the wealth of the nation, but owning the honor of trust and service." She stood still, momentarily lost in thought. Then she slowly sat in the presidential chair, took a deep breath in, and smiled to herself. Enjoy today, Delilah. Thereafter will be storms, she mumbled to herself. She thought of President Moses Kamau, read the note again, and remembered how it all started.
Thank you. Gilda says, can you deliver that to our government ministers? I think the thing that gets lost here is the word service, because they don't realize that they actually are in service to a nation. And it's more about, well, I mean, historically, corruption sort of ruled Africa. And I think people forget that it's about service to the people and not service to your own pockets.
That should be the bench line. I believe that should be the bench line of every leader, is that you are there to do a service. And the presidents that lead our countries should make it clear that if you're a leader at any level, including the head teacher in a school, you're providing a service, and you need to provide a quality service. I know that people would say, well, but we may not have the resources. But quite often, I think it is more of leadership than resources. You can train your teachers to be very good teachers with little resources by using the existing resources in the school. You can provide water to a group of people by joining forces with those people. If they know that it is for them, you can provide them a few tools, and they'll be able to provide the service that they need. So I think it's a question of leadership. It's understanding what the people need and helping them to achieve what they need.
Well, on that note, there was one question I wanted to ask you, and I never got into it, and we are running a little bit over time here. Moses, how did you go about publishing or getting published?
Right, that's a very interesting question. When I wrote the books, the first book, and I approached a few houses to see if they would publish the books. What came across to me was that we are coming from two different angles or two poles. I was more interested in the ideas and sharing the ideas, but they were more interested in the financial benefits they would get. Now, so after we're discussing with a few, I discovered that I think my ideas are more than the whatever money would be generated. So I decided to take the route of self-publication. So that's how I ended up doing it. I self-published them. And since they are a sequel, I just decided to do the same, self-publish them, and then move on.
Well, we wish you everything of the best with them. And don't stop writing. Keep writing. You can only, go back into education, because it's definitely, you need to set up a course, you need to train leadership, you need to mold the future leaders of the world. I really believe that. I love the ideas in this book. Your characters are just really wholesome and fabulous, and I hope the world turns out that way.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, for as long as I have a little bit of breath, maybe I'll write a few more books and see where they go. But if I can inspire even one person on the continent, that would be a big achievement for me. That would be fantastic. Because that is the I believe that would be worthy all the effort, and I just hope that will happen at some point. So otherwise, thank you very much for having me around, and I hope maybe next time we shall meet again. And I hope so. Yeah, thank you. Because I mean, I got so much to tell you.
Thank you so much.
Can I make one little request?
Please.
Are you going to share the recording with me?
I absolutely am. I'll send you the link. I will put it on YouTube in about a week's time, and I will send you the link.
I'll greatly appreciate it.
With absolute
This has
pleasure.
been
Thank
great,
you so
a
much.
great conversation.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody joining us. Shelley says she's thoroughly inspired to be a better leader in my life. Thank you. Well, there you go.
Oh.
You've inspired one person.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm going to sleep very nicely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Noah.
Thank you. Thank you very
Pleasure.
much.
Go well. Bye-bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.